Maxwell. Give that guy.
Mr. Maxwell.
These fucking shares so much. All right. What's up, guys? One of the best times of the year for us, for sure. Soccer fans, Euro 2020 preview.
Indeed,
Joe
indeed.
Vafari, Igor Henriquez. So what we're gonna do is we'll go through the groups. We'll go through groups from A to F.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about teams that we like to advance, and then also players to watch out for in each of the groups. So I'll throw over to you, and we'll start with Group A.
Alrighty, so Group A, we have the Azzurri to start off. It's Italy, Switzerland, Turkey, and Wales. So again, I guess we'll start talking about your fellow Italians to start off. Unbeaten in about 8 games.
That's what I wanted to talk about. I'm getting a little excited.
Games. You know what? Looking at the composition, I do like them as a dark horse in the tournament itself. I think they're at the good end of the draw. The group is not the easiest group, I would say.
I'd say it's well balanced.
It's a well balanced situation. I like Insigne. I like Ciro Immobile, the Lazio striker.
These are all the guys I don't like on the team.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Well, I'm a big obviously. I was watching Chiesa. I don't know if Chiesa's gonna start. That's a little bit. I like Ciro. I don't know if he's a star striker, but again, they're a very well balanced team from midfield into defense. And again, hard to break down. And again, I gotta pronounce it. Gianluigi Donnarumma. Donnarumma.
Yeah.
Again, to me, one of the better goalkeepers in the whole Euros.
Milan cannot wait to get rid of him, by the way.
Well, I think he wanted more money.
Supposed to be going to PSG. Yeah.
PSG, or I think Juventus, but then the thing with Chesney.
Teams are going to go to keepers. Yeah.
And I don't know what's it. And I think they were trying to play Milan a little bit for money, and now all of a sudden, nobody really needs a goalie.
That's the thing.
Or a keeper, I should say, not goalie. But again, unless PSG is trying to move on from Navas, I don't really see a fit anywhere. Because again, I think Chesney's getting paid a lot by Juventus, which to me,
he was never good to me.
To me, at times, even last year, I thought at times that Gigi was still better than Chesney in a lot of the games that I watched Juventus play. And Gigi's like 40-something years old.
But Gigi fell off a cliff. Like I remember about 3 years ago, people were saying, okay, this guy, and he did 3 years ago, and now recently, and he hasn't. But that's fine. But getting back to the group, you want to talk about guys that I like, because I haven't been this excited.
Well, again, it's your squad. You talk about your Italian squad.
So as a soccer fan and an Italian soccer fan, like when 06, when it happened, obviously I didn't know too much about it because I wasn't a big soccer fan, but I was there for the party, I'm not going to lie. Now that I've been following soccer since I want to say like 2010, 2012, I have a good grasp of a bit of the game, but also more so the players. Mm-hmm. Now, when Italy won in 06, they were your typical Italian team. Defend, very strong defending, and another like rock hard midfield. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now the defending is getting a little bit older, and they're still running out these older guys because
Chiellini, Bonucci.
They're both still going to be there. Now the fullbacks are a little bit younger. I don't know exactly who's going to start. So Spinazzola is injured, mm-hmm. and then also Florenzi, who I really like, who went from Roma to Spain and now PSG. Yeah. Love him. Now Verratti, I've never been the biggest fan of, but he plays for PSG. Still one of the best midfielders in the world. Mm-hmm. If he's in form, look out, because my favorite player from Cagliari in Serie A, mm-hmm. now at Inter and won everything, Barella. I think that Barella might have like the tournament of all tournaments. Mm-hmm. Like I think that this is going to be his coming out party. So you have him, and then Jorginho, who has had a really strong season as well. Mm-hmm. This is one of the better midfielders they've had since they've had like Pirlo, Gattuso, and those guys from like 06. Marquisio, right? Like their midfield went through like 2008. I think they bowed out in the group stage. They didn't qualify for the last Euros. It's been really rough. Yeah. Now the youth movement's coming through.
There was
World Cup they qualified, but not the Euro.
Wasn't it the reverse? I think it was the reverse. No, they weren't at the World Cup. I don't think.
One of them they did qualify for.
Yeah, I think it was at the. I think they didn't qualify the World Cup. The Euros they were there, I believe.
Okay. Well, they weren't good. Whatever one they did qualify for, they were also very bad at.
Yeah, they weren't great. And again, the thing was it was. The last one they did. Remember, I was telling you they had Graziano Pelle, they had Eder. They played reasonably. They beat Spain in that Euro. They did well. Okay, they lost to.
They lost in penalties.
I believe they lost to the Germans. Yes, the penalties were terrible. Yeah. Remember, the bald guys, Zaza and he skied it. Yeah. So they were
terrible strikers.
And that's the problem. And here's the situation with them: it's been a team a little bit in flux because. Okay, and I like the guy. You like the guy. We were all big, on Balotelli.
And I was going to bring up the poster.
was a leading guy, And again, he fell off a cliff. He's in Serie B, and he's not even that old. He's not. I don't think he's even
He's
30.
30.
He's
I think he
29,
just turned 30.
29, 30. He fell off a cliff, and again, their reliance was a lot on him making a lot of the
He's
plays.
incredible. Scoring some of the best goals I've seen.
He scored some incredible goals. He got him to one of those finals where they
against Spain. They lost in the Euro final.
But I think he beat the Germans in one.
It was a one-man show.
He cooked them. And then since that, they really haven't had. And then there's other guys like. They were thinking about El Shaarawy was going to be a guy that was going to be big. And I like some of the there's Belotti's another guy.
Belotti's good, but this other guy I don't rate very high. Like I expected him to be better. He's supposed to be going to Roma this offseason. Last year to Torino, but sticking with so up front, like I said, like I like Sensi is injured. Another guy for Inter, another attacking midfielder who's going to miss the tournament, got injured. But like I said, Jorginho, Barella, and Verratti, I really like that midfield. And then up front, you're going to have Insigne, Immobile, and then probably Chiesa there. Yeah, and I do like Chiesa.
I think Chiesa is one for the future, a guy that can really be something. He's got the pace. I liked what I saw. He's still a young guy. He's only like 20, 22.
22 maybe, yeah.
He can probably be one of the leaders for the team going forward, a really good player. I think he'll be one of Juventus' better players next year as he keeps progressing. Yeah. So again, it's a good situation. You look at the rest of the group. I particularly think that their biggest competition probably, and who they face tomorrow, we're starting up early, is probably the Turks.
I think so too.
I think the Turks are again, a lot of people are picking them to be dark horses in the tournament. Guys like Yilmaz, they beat I think they beat the Netherlands not too long ago pretty thoroughly. Again, they're a good side. I don't know how far they would be able to go in a tournament, but a hard team to really break down. Yeah. It's a really interesting first game. The Swiss again have had better days. I think I think they rely still a lot on guys like Xhaka. I'm a big fan of Shaqiri, the little guy. He does his thing. Wales did really well in the 2016 tournament. I don't know what they'll do in this tournament because a guy like their talisman, that one was Bale. Bale's been all out of sorts. He still did pretty well for Tottenham in the situation as a sub, but not a guy that's really been leading it.
And it seems like the passion's not there with him. Does he want to play soccer anymore? Is what I feel whenever I
watch him. And then you look at guys like Ramsey. I don't think they'll have the situation going there. So if I'm looking at this, I'm taking your Italian squad to finish first. I'm taking Turkey to finish second. Switzerland third, and Wales in last. So Wales would be eliminated in the group stage in that situation. And again, I just don't see it in terms of the situation. I think again, there's potential for things there, but these games are also real important. I think for Italy, for example, playing Turkey the first game is probably a little bit better off because again, even if it ends up being a draw or a small shock result, you still have time to recover. You probably want to face the tougher teams early and play the weaker ones later, depending on the situation and depending on the group context. But I think getting that one out of the way, I think Switzerland and Wales are a step below Turkey, and that's how I think it'll play out.
Okay, I pretty much agree. Like I think that Turkey's the second best team there. Another thing I want to say about Italy is typically what happens with Italy when they're qualifying for tournaments, they just get in. Yeah. They've been dominant in qualifying, dominant. I've never seen anything like this. That's why I'm kind of hesitant to say are they a dark horse? If I had to, what would you say in terms of if you were to rank the team, where would you put Italy? Would you put them in the top 5, or just outside?
See, again, based off, but here's the end thing, and I was going to mention this later on. A lot of these tournaments, and again, I will take, I know we'll talk about them later, but everyone sees me wearing the shirt. A lot of the situations are. A lot of how things play out is how things go into the seedings and so forth. I'll be the first to let you know that. Finished third in a weak group in 2016. It was Hungary, Austria, Iceland, third seeding in advance. In other situations, we played the Croatians in the round of 16. They had beaten Spain to first place in the group. You end up in that situation. Then you face a Poland team that, again, a good team with Lewandowski, but nothing world beaters in the round of 8. Croatia, and then in the semifinals, you end up playing Wales instead of Belgium because the Belgians fell apart. So again, it was. I'm not going to say it wasn't a cakewalk because the Croatians played quite well, and
that was probably the toughest competition.
That was probably and went to penalties with Poland and so forth. So the Portuguese team wasn't playing on all cylinders, but a lot of it's the draw. And the same thing happened at the World Cup, in my opinion, with the Croatians and with England in the context, because if you end up on the right side of the draw, things just pan out for you easier.
Yeah.
You don't want
you don't want to play France in the first qualifying.
You don't want to play, and again, we're going to get into as we go through the groups. You don't want to go through murderer's row to reach the final if you can help it. And sometimes actually being better is going to, and we'll talk about it later, it can potentially screw you, depending on how the situation is going. I mentioned it to you before the show started. Some of the second place teams will play each other, while potentially a first place team might get a second place team from, let's say, the group of death, and have a much harder competition based on paper. Now, again, soccer's not based on paper.
As opposed to playing a team like Turkey or something, you might play the third in the group of death.
For example, again, we're going to get into it soon. Like, for example, England wins their group, they get second from the group of death. Could be Germany, could be Portugal, could be France. Don't know. That's a tough situation. Then maybe you get Spain, which again, I know you're not that sold on in general. Still, then you probably still have to go through a semifinal, which will likely be another strong team. Maybe sometimes you actually play stronger teams in the round of 16, and you do the semis.
That's what I say about Croatia for Portugal is probably their toughest competition until they got to the finals, right?
Absolutely. Again, and Wales was probably, and Wales was on a crazy Cinderella run. But that was, again, that game was
they run out of gas.
They ran out of gas, Ronaldo header, and then the Nani goal, and that was it. I'm watching that game. I had no belief, besides Bale shooting from 30 yards, I had no belief that the Wales were going to beat the Portuguese.
Yeah.
No. So you're sticking Italy,
so I'm
Turkey.
I'll go Italy, Turkey. I think that Wales, in terms of talent, I think that Wales obviously has more. Other than, I'm not gonna lie, with Ramsey and Bale. Other than that, I don't know too many guys on the Wales squad.
Aaron Williams.
I'm hoping they have some younger guys that are gonna come up, but Switzerland's another team that you talked about Shaqiri and Xhaka. They're both older guys.
Well, Xhaka's still reasonable.
He's a little bit younger. The Arsenal
guy. Yeah.
But not much.
They're not
talent there.
So
that's why I'll take Wales to finish.
Rodriguez is actually pretty good. I know he plays in Syria. He's he'll be taking their set pieces and so forth. So he's another guy. But to me, to me the Italians and the Turks are basically a step ahead of Switzerland at this point in my opinion.
Swiss, like I said, Swiss to me is the better squad, but I think that Wales might somehow finish third for whatever that's worth. I don't think they'll advance. I don't think they'll be one of the better third teams, but I'll take them to advance.
Okay.
Group B.
So Group B. So we got Belgium, Denmark, Finland, and Russia. So I don't think that, again, obviously the Belgians are one of the favorites by the bookies. I think you mentioned top 5 teams by the bookies standards, that the Belgians would be in there. To me, they're actually weaker going into this tournament than they've been in other tournaments. Now, Lukaku actually has obviously had a great season for Inter. De Bruyne had a great season for Manchester City, a little bit injured, don't know what that situation is going to be, how his head, he might miss the first game, he's very doubtful for the first game actually. Again,
their first game's against Russia.
They lucked out a little bit in the group situation. Denmark's another team that a lot of pundits are supposing might have a dark horse situation. They've got some really, they've been great in qualifying. Eriksen's been leading them well. They've been doing very, very well.
This is not the same Eriksen since Tottenham though. Since he's gone to Inter, he's not. He hasn't.
But on the national team, he plays a different type of role. And then Finland, that's going to come all out of the Norwich striker in Pukki, who was quite good. Yeah. And then the Russians again have a usual their mixed bag. In a different situation, there's not a team here. I think with their attack, I think I mentioned it to you before when the show started. The Belgians, Achilles heel, and you saw it in that Wales game. And I don't think they've gotten that much better because a lot of those guys are now 4 or 5 years older. Is that defensive situation? Right? If they can pour on the goals, Hazard isn't what he was 5 years ago. He again overweight, unmotivated. I don't know. Again, he hasn't been all that good. They still got guys like Carrasco. They Dries Mertens.
I like Carrasco. He's all right.
Mertens and
Axel Witsel coming off the Achilles tear. He was really good at.
And again, they have a very well balanced squad. Team. But a lot of it's probably going to go through De Bruyne and Lukaku. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Lukaku. But the problem to me is at the back with Vertonghen and Alderweireld, maybe Denier. Against top competition, they'll have a problem. And I mentioned to you before, there's a decent chance, by way how things will go, if our prediction's set, that your Italian team would probably meet them in the round of 8, for example. I would take your Italian team to beat them simply based on the fact that it's a style of game where Italy will soak up a lot of the Belgian pressure and then hit him on the counter with a bad defensive squad, hit Vertonghen with some pace, and the Italians win the game. The Italians would be perfectly suited for that situation. And that's why, again, I will take the Belgians to win the group because Denmark will be their biggest competition, but they'll likely have enough to get through, at least a draw on that one, in my opinion. I'm going to go Belgium, Denmark. Third and fourth, I don't really rate either one of them. I think Finland has a good striker. I don't know how much they'll actually do.
There's always some kind of Cinderella, though.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Russians to finish third and the Finns to finish fourth because Pukki's also has a bit of a groin injury that he might need surgery on. I don't know how much he might be able to play if he's going to play at 100%. I think without him at 100%, they don't really have much of a realistic shot. So I will say Belgium, Denmark, Russia, Finland.
Just to touch on the Belgian squad, I forgot Batshuayi is there too. Dortmund guy. Like they have so much up front. Benteke.
Benteke hasn't been the same guy from the last
He's
few
not,
years.
but like coming off the bench for countries can do so much worse. And then obviously De Bruyne, Carrasco, who had a spell in China, came back, who's at Atletico, I believe, for a while.
Madrid, yeah.
And then Hazard's brother also, to be honest, might be in better form than Eden is.
And that's the problem, right? Well, I think Hazard was a difference maker.
At Chelsea,
I don't know what you're gonna get out of Hazard in this tournament, and that's why. Again, the FIFA rankings, they have them up there. I don't know why, to be honest with you. They've never won a tournament. They do well in qualifying.
They were one for a while.
They haven't made a final. I don't understand it. I really don't. I still don't even understand what happened in this situation. How you have the former World Cup champions, the Euro champions, and the World Cup champions in the same pot somehow. That made no sense to me whatsoever. But they do it by group winners and all that other stuff.
But they should all advance, just based on.
Sure.
We hope.
In the situation,
you want to see all three of those teams. We'll get to that group. So to wrap that up, I'll go Belgium 1, Denmark 2, Finland 3, and then Russia 4. Okay. I just think Finland might scrap themselves for maybe an extra point.
The Russians usually do well at these tournaments, but
only the last one. The last World Cup, they were so surprising because I think they were
at home
terribly. That's what it was, right? They got a lot of calls.
Yeah. They got a lot of calls, and they got into a lot of penalty situations. I mean, they beat Spain in that situation.
That was very strange.
And again, it's one of those situations. So Group C. So so this one's an interesting one. So you got Austria, Netherlands, North Macedonia, and Ukraine. So I've seen a lot of the Ukrainians because they were in the Portuguese group for the actual qualifier. They actually ended up beating Portugal in first place, which caused the whole mess in terms of the pots.
Agree with that, yeah.
Austria, Netherlands, and North Macedonia. So my situation here, and a lot of people are rating the Netherlands quite high. I don't really see it that way, and I'll tell you why. I think the Netherlands were doing really well when Ronald Koeman was running the team. They were
when they had Schneider and those guys too, right?
Well, it wasn't even not even that. I mean, more recently, they've been in the same situation, right? They missed the World Cup, they missed the Euros, yeah. And they were in one of those weird situations. They had a lot of talent. The issue is that again, since Koeman left for Barcelona, they've been shambles under the board. His system, his coaching tactics have been questioned. The team is questioning his tactics. I don't really trust them in a lot of these situations. They're going to be missing Virgil van Dijk, which is the best defender. They still got De Ligt, they still got De Vrij, who did really well for Inter.
But he's incredible. Yeah.
That'll be the situation there. So again, definitely a big miss. I think they'll still get out of the group, but I'm not rating them in first.
I think a lot of people scoring.
I think Memphis Depay. They have offensive talent. I just don't think. I think they're a team that's going to be figured out system wise, and a lot of these teams are going to surprise them. The friendlies they have not looked good. They have 2 goals in the Scotland.
The midfield is not good there either.
Well, Frankie De Jong for Barcelona is highly rated. Again, they have some. And I think the guy that just moved to PSG from Liverpool, Giorgio Wijnaldum. And they have other guys that are class players. And again, it's a team that's coming up in the situation. And I still think that the Ligt can be a difference maker. I am going to say that they're not going to win the group, which I think most people have the consensus that they will win the group. I actually rate the Ukrainians to actually get through because the Ukrainians, to me, have a situation where they're very well balanced and they will surprise people, in my opinion. That again, they were very good in the groups. They're tough to break down. I think they'll surprise. Another issue here is out of nowhere and might be the Cinderella story. I don't know. The North Macedonians are actually interesting. They beat Germany about a month ago. Again, not many names that you're going to recognize. The Pandev, who used to play in Serie A, he's 37. But for some reason, again, and I think that win, they're ahead actually of the Germans in the actually, well, in qualifying, they're actually ahead of the Germans now in the World Cup qualifying because of that win. And that was in Germany, by the way. It was an impressive win out of nowhere. Their group cohesive unit will give a lot of these teams problems. So I'm going to say that they're going to get out of the group, but they're not going to finish in last, which a lot of people I think probably have them. I'm going to say that they're going to finish third, and the Austrians will actually go last. And I'm a big Alaba guy. I think he's
I
solid.
love Alaba. He's one of my favorite players. Yeah.
I haven't seen much progression since the last Euro situation where they finished in last, and then that Portuguese group. I wouldn't stun me if the North Macedonians pull off something, because they're in that mindset of
third or second.
I want to say that I want to even push them a little higher up, but I just think that the Netherlands have enough firepower to see them off in a game. But it wouldn't stun me because they're really feeling good about themselves. So I'm gonna go Ukraine first, Netherlands second, and the Macedonians third, and Austria fourth.
This was, when I talked with Tino and Dan, we were doing this earlier, this was one of the shocking things for me. And I thought Ukraine, the pick was shocking. I have Ukraine winning as well.
Okay.
Whenever I watch them play internationally, at least the times that I have, they seem to bring in, back in the day with Shevchenko, obviously, but I think he's managing the team now.
I don't recall. I don't know if he might be managing.
Either way, I have Ukraine in first. Now, I do have Austria in second. And that's, to be honest, is because I love Alaba. I think that they're going to kind of have a little trick up their sleeves. And then also with Marcel Sabitzer, who played a little bit with Dortmund in midfield. Really, with these tournaments is you need to kind of just scrape away some wins. I have Austria second. They're probably going to lose in the next round, but I think that they're going to have there. Okay. The big surprise here for me is I have North Macedonia third. Wow. I have Netherlands in fourth in this
dead
group.
Last.
I have no faith in them. Now, obviously, the back line for them is really good. I think most of their games are going to be a struggle to score. A lot of 0-0, 1-0 games, 1-1. I don't see the creativity in the midfield. I'm a big Memphis guy. Was from when he was back in the Dutch League before the Man U move. But Daley Blind is probably going to be a midfielder for them. The old Man U guy, because he played, and then he went back to center back. But they're two strongest center backs, so I think they're going to push there because they don't have anything in midfield. I think they're going to have a lot of problems. This might be a really wake-up call for them. Yeah, maybe I should place it back because I see everything.
Well, again, and the board tactics, you never know. And again, you can see that there's infighting going on with the tactics, and he doesn't seem like he's all there. And again, they're not looking, based off of what I've seen.
They don't look strong. They're not in good form.
And like I said, they're not going into the tournament with much thing. And again, the Scotland team, getting that draw to me was a massive surprise in a sense, because again that gives them a little bit of a push in my opinion. But they're not going in as world beaters, and I think they're highly ranked too in the odds as well. But I wouldn't put a bet of money on them.
Okay, so that's going to wrap up the first three groups. We're going to take a quick break, come back, go from D to F. All right.